Okay, so picture this. You're out hiking, you're in this dense kind of gray forest. The air is cold, the ground is all rock and hard-packed earth. Everything is just drab.
Very muted colors, brown, gray, slate.
Exactly. And then suddenly you spot something through the trees. It's a horse. But this isn't just any horse. This thing is the color of a sunset. It's this impossible, vivid orange. It's practically glowing against the gray landscape. Now, in pretty much any other story you've ever read, what's your first instinct?
Oh, well, in any other fantasy setting, that's your cue to approach. That's a magical encounter. Booty almost always equals goodness, or at least, significance.
You want to go pet it.
You absolutely want to pet. You want to see if it's like a unicorn or if it has a quest for you.
Exactly. But here, in this world, in the land of the Dells, that sunset orange horse is a biological warning sign. It is nature's way of just screaming at you, run.
Yeah. That thing doesn't want an apple from you.
No, it wants to tear your throat out. And it creates this fascinating, immediate cognitive dissonance.
It does. I mean, as humans, we are basically hardwired to be drawn to beautiful, bright things. You think of flowers, tropical birds, gems. But in this world, that beauty is a trap. It's a lure used by the ultimate predators.
Welcome, everyone, to the Dells. Today, we are unpacking a world where a silver and blue raptor or a fuchsia mountain lion isn't some wonder to behold. It's a monster. And we're going to be talking about one monster in particular.
Her name is Fire, and she is the last human monster left alive.
This is a deep dive into excerpts from the novel Fire by Kristin Cashore. And what makes this story so compelling is that it's not just a fantasy adventure. It's really a profound study on the psychology of power, the crushing burden of a parental legacy, and how you define your own humanity when your very biology classifies you as a villain.
And the sources we have, they are incredibly dense. You've got this whole geopolitical thriller bubbling under the surface, a kingdom on the bank of civil war, riddled with spies, secret underground tunnels, and of course this incredibly dangerous wildlife.
But right at the dead center of all this chaos is this one girl, Fire.
Who is, you could argue, the most dangerous weapon in the entire kingdom. Not because she has a sword or an army, but because she wields this irresistible beauty and the power to control minds.
So let's really unpack this concept of the beautiful monster, because it is the engine that drives this entire story. It completely flips the script on how we usually view fantasy creatures.
And we have to start with the biology of it, really, because that sets the stakes for everything else that follows. In the Dells, you have your standard ecosystem. Brown bears, gray wolves, regular drab-colored horses.
The normal stuff.
The normal stuff. They behave like you'd expect animals to behave. They hunt, they sleep, they run away if you spook them. But then you have monsters.
And monsters are the remix. They're the deluxe version.
That's a great way to put it. They are the vividly colored, hyper-aggressive versions of these same animals. So we're not talking about made-up creatures. We're talking about raptors that are bronze and gold, wildcats that are turquoise, insects that look like iridescent jewels.
And they aren't just colorful for show.
Yeah.
They are mean.
They're voracious. The sources say they have this frantic, insatiable craving for the flesh of other monsters, and they are particularly fond of human flesh.
But their most dangerous weapon isn't their claws or their teeth, is it? It's psychological.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They radiate this stunning beauty that literally clouds the mind of their prey. It's a form of hypnosis.
So you just freeze. You're so captivated by how gorgeous this, fuchsia leopard is, that your survival instinct just shorts out. The part of your brain that says run is just offline.
Precisely. It's a mental stun gun. And Fire, our protagonist, is the human version of this. The source describes her hair as the color of sunrise, poppy, copper, fuchsia, flame. She is overwhelmingly, distractingly beautiful.
And just like the monster animals, she has a mental hold over people. She can enter minds.
Which, on paper, sounds like an incredible superhero power. But in her life, it is an absolute curse.
A total curse.
Yeah.
I mean, she has to cover her hair constantly with these drab scarves. She can't just walk down the street without causing a riot or, worse, an assault, because people and animals literally cannot control themselves around her.
Because she triggers that base predatory or obsessive instinct in everyone and everything she meets. She is a walking catalyst for chaos.
But before we really get into Fire's head and all of her trauma, we have to talk about the prologue. Because the source material starts us off with a backstory that seems, at first, totally unrelated. It's about this boy named Imiker.
And it seems like a detour, but it's not. It's deliberately setting up the perfect villain archetype to contrast with Fire.
So this is the tale of Larch and Imiker. And to get the stakes, we have to look at the neighboring kingdom, which is called Monsi. Now, Monsi has a completely different magic system. They have gracelings.
Right. And gracelings are people born with two different colored eyes, and they each have a specific supernatural skill or a grace.
It could be anything, right? It could be like superhuman sword fighting. It could be cooking the perfect meal every time. It could be holding your breath underwater for an hour.
Exactly. So in this prologue, we meet Larch, who's this lonely game warden. And he finds a baby abandoned in a monster's nest. And this baby has one gray eye and one red eye.
A graceling.
Hmm.
And Larch, being a good guy, takes him in, raises him, and names him Imiker.
But Imiker is unsettling. I mean, deeply unsettling. Even as a toddler, he talks with the vocabulary of a full-grown adult. He can charm absolutely everyone instantly. But you get this sense of a profound coldness underneath it all.
And there's this really chilling sequence where Larch and Imiker have to flee into the mountains. In Monsi, the king captures gracelings to use them as his personal property, as weapons or tools.
So they're on the run, they're starving, they're being hunted by these giant birds, and Larch is just desperately trying to protect this little boy, and then disaster strikes.
The avalanche. And this is a key moment, not just for the plot, but because it literally shifts the geography of the story.
It does. They fall through a crack in the mountain, and they land in this network of underground tunnels that connect Monsi to the dells. Larch is injured, he's terrified, he's falling through total darkness. But when they finally land, Imiker, the toddler, isn't scared at all.
The kid is telling the dad what to do. He's calm, he's in control.
And that's when Larch starts to realize, very slowly, that Imiker's grace, his power, it isn't speed or strength or anything physical, it's words. He can convince anyone of absolutely anything. He can fog your mind and just replace your thoughts with his own.
Which brings us to the moment that literally made me shiver when I was reading the source text.
Yeah.
Years have passed. They're living secretly in the dells now. Larch walks in on Imiker, who is now a young boy, and he is torturing a rabbit.
A sky-colored monster rabbit. And again, you have to note the color sky blue. A beautiful, magical creature.
And Imiker is slicing it open while it's still alive. Larch is, of course, horrified, but Imiker just looks up at him with these mismatched eyes and says, "It doesn't hurt her, father."
And instantly, Larch believes him. The horror just drains away. He feels calm. He feels reassured.
That is the true horror of this villain. It's not just that he's cruel. It's that he can rewrite your reality. You can bypass your senses and hack your brain directly.
But Larch, to his credit, fights through it. He has this one final moment of clarity where the fog lifts and he realizes the truth and he says, "I think you take over my mind with your words."
And Imiker just smiles at him, says goodbye, and he stabs his father to death.
And this transition is so vital for you to understand. After this, Imiker changes his name to Lek, and he establishes this absolutely terrifying archetype. The manipulator who can hide in plain sight.
Right. He looks like a normal human boy. He doesn't have flame-colored hair. He uses words and lies to control people. He's the sociopath who can walk among us, completely undetected.
And this is the perfect foil for fire, because fire cannot hide. Fire is a monster in the literal biological sense. She is vividly colored. Her very appearance screams danger to everyone who looks at her. But Lek is the hidden monster, and it sets up the central theme of the entire story. Who is the real monster? The one who looks like one or the one who acts like one?
So let's fast forward to the main timeline. Lek is out there somewhere, we assume, causing chaos in the background, but our focus shifts entirely to fire. She's 17 years old. She's the last of her kind.
The last human monster.
Right. And she hates it.
Yeah.
She absolutely hates it. She wears these headscarves to hide that flame-colored hair. She wears drab, baggy clothing. She is trying with every fiber of her being to just be a normal girl.
But she can't be. Not just because of her looks, but because of that telepathic ability. She can soothe pain. She can induce sleep. She can even twist people's intentions. But, and this is the absolute crucial difference between her and Lek, she refuses to invade minds unless she absolutely has to.
She sees it as a violation.
A total violation of privacy and autonomy. She will not steal secrets. She will not control people for her own gain.
We have to talk about her father, Cantrell, because he is the shadow hanging over this entire deep dive. You really cannot understand fire without understanding the trauma that Cantrell inflicted on her.
Cantrell was the ultimate beautiful monster. He had silver and blue hair, dark blue eyes. He was stunning. And unlike fire, he reveled in his nature. He loved it. He loved making monsters scream. He loved making humans degrade themselves for his amusement.
The sources mention that he practically ran the kingdom for years by manipulating the previous king, Nax.
He did. King Nax was a weak man, prone to addiction, and Cantrell fed him drugs and whispered bad ideas in his ear. They essentially drove the kingdom into ruin together.
But the domestic side of it, what he did to fire, is even more chilling.
Oh, absolutely. He would try to force fire to manipulate people for fun. He called them lessons.
Ugh, monster lessons.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that as your childhood? Your dad trying to teach you how to be a sociopath?
It was psychological torture. He wanted to mold her into a weapon just like him. He wanted a partner in crime. And fire resisted him at every single turn, but the trauma is so deep. She has nightmares about him constantly.
But Cantrell is dead now, right? He was killed by a monster, ironically.
Yes, a midnight blue leopard with gold spots. But it wasn't just a random animal attack. It's heavily implied that he had been shot by an assassin first. The royal family, or at least someone connected to them, finally had enough of him and arranged a hit.
So Fire is left with this horrible legacy. Her father was the most hated man in the kingdom, the architect of its ruin, and she looks exactly like him. She carries his face and his power.
Talk about baggage. And this brings us to the first time we actually see Fire in action in the text. She's just walking in the woods, all covered up in her drab clothes, and she gets shot.
By a poacher. An arrow right in the arm.
And her reaction is so telling. It's not to blast his mind with psychic energy and make him jump off a cliff, which is 100% what Cantrell would have done.
Oh, without a doubt.
Instead, she carefully reaches into his mind, and she finds that it's foggy and blank, which is strange, and that becomes important later. She realizes he shot her by accident. He genuinely thought she was a deer.
Because she was wearing brown and trying to blend in. But here's the interesting part. She uses her power to convince him to help her. She pushes past his fear of her, but she doesn't break his will. She doesn't steal his secrets. She just nudges him. She makes him want to take her to safety.
And safety, in this case, is her friend Archer's home.
Right, Archer. He's a really key character here at the start. He's her childhood friend, her occasional lover, and he's fiercely, almost suffocatingly protective of her.
And just as they arrive at his house, he has to kill a sunflower orange raptor to protect them.
Another one of those incredible color details. A sunflower orange bird of prey. It just paints this picture of how vibrant and deadly this world is. It's beautiful, and it will kill you.
But the big takeaway from this poacher incident is that Fire uses her immense power to save the man who shot her. It immediately establishes her fundamental difference from her father. She has the capacity for incredible violence, but she chooses mercy.
So she's back home. She's recovering from this arrow wound. But the world outside isn't waiting for her to heal. We really need to set the geopolitical stage here because the Dells is an absolute mess. It is not a happy fantasy kingdom.
Not at all. It's a failed state, essentially. Thanks to the disastrous reign of King Nax and the manipulations of Cantrell, the central government has all but collapsed. You have the current king, Nash, who is Nas's son, trying desperately to hold it all together.
But he's got threats on all sides.
All sides. You have these powerful rebel lords in the north and the south Lord Mydog and Lord Gentian who are threatening a full-blown civil war. And then you have pirates, the Piccians, who are constantly raiding the borders. It's a kingdom under siege from within and without.
And on top of all that, the surface of the land is crawling with these colorful monsters that want to eat you.
Yeah.
So travel is complicated.
Yeah. Right. Most people travel in this ancient network of underground tunnels, which creates this incredibly claustrophobic, paranoid atmosphere. Spies are everywhere because you can move troops or agents or assassins underground without ever being seen by the raptors on the surface.
So let's talk about the royal family because they are the other main players in this whole drama. We have the current king, King Nash.
Nash is, well, he's a tragic figure, really. He's described as looking kingly. He has the bearing of a leader, but he is deeply, deeply flawed. He drinks way too much.
Which Fire hates.
She despises it because it reminds her of the addiction that Cantrell used to destroy the old King Nax. She sees it as a profound weakness.
And Nash has a thing for fire, a serious thing.
He does. He is extremely susceptible to what she calls the monster drug. He's attracted to her in that mindless, overwhelming, biological way. It's not love. It's an obsession she triggers in him.
But then we have the brother, Prince Briggan. And this is where it gets really, really interesting.
Briggan is the complete foil to Cantrell. Where Fire's father was beautiful, flamboyant, and manipulative, Briggan is described as plain, covered in scars, brutally honest, and ruthlessly efficient. He is the commander of the king's army.
And he hates fire.
Oh, he despises her. Or, to be more precise, he despises what she represents. Her father destroyed his father. Her father ruined his childhood and his kingdom. In his mind, she is a walking, breathing national security threat. To him, she's just another monster that needs to be put down.
So Fire, recovering from her wound, decides she can't just hide anymore. This whole spy network, including the poacher who shot her, who she now realizes was a spy for one of the rebel lords, it's getting too dangerous. She decides to travel to Queen Rowan's fortress.
Queen Rowan being Nash and Brigand's mother, the formidable matriarch of this broken family.
It's such a bold move. She's injured. She can't even play her fiddle, which is her main coping mechanism for her trauma, and she's deliberately riding into the heart of the family that has every reason to hate her.
And her friend Archer is not happy about this at all.
Not one bit. Archer's whole deal is being protective, but it veers way into controlling. He basically wants to lock her in a tower to keep her safe from the world. But Fire refuses. She takes her horse, Small.
And I just love that her horse's name is Small.
Me too. And that Small is a drab horse. He's a normal, brown, unmagical animal. And Fire loves him precisely because he's gentle and small-minded in a comforting, predictable way. He's her anchor to humanity. So she gets to the fortress. And this is where the action really ramps up. We get this set piece that is honestly cinematic. It's one of those moments that defines the entire book.
The raptor swarm.
And we're not talking one or two birds. The source says 200 monster raptors.
It's a siege. The fortress is completely pinned down. But there's a crisis. King Nash and Prince Brigand are there with only a small detachment of the army, maybe 50 men, and they get an urgent distress call from a town called Greyhaven. It's under attack.
So they have to leave the safety of the fortress to go save this town. But there are 200 vividly colored, flesh-eating raptors waiting for them the second they step outside the gates. It is a suicide mission.
And this is where Fire makes her choice. She understands the biology of these monsters better than anyone. She knows they like human flesh, sure. But what they really crave, what drives them into a frenzy, is monster flesh. They're drawn to the magic in her blood.
She is the ultimate bait.
She is. So the army charges out of the gates. Brigand is screaming orders, trying to get them to the safety of the tunnel entrance. But the raptors are already diving, picking off soldiers. And Fire, she rides her horse Small, out away from the army, away from safety.
And she does the one thing she never, ever does in public. She takes off her headscarf.
She unleashes the hair, that beacon of sunrise, poppy, copper, fuchsia flame. And the sensory detail in the text here is just horrific. The raptors make a sound like screeching metal when they spot her.
And they forget the army. They completely ignore the king and all his men. They all turn and dive for her.
She describes it as a cloud of gnats descending on her. She's just riding for her life, using her own body as a lure to draw this massive swarm of predators away from the soldiers.
And she barely survives. I mean, she's clawed to ribbons, she's bleeding, her poor horse is torn up. Archer has to literally stand on the battlements and shoot the birds off her as she clashes back through the fortress gates.
But it works. The army gets to the tunnels, they escape, and Brigand sees the whole thing. He watches this monster, this girl he hates and distrusts, sacrifice herself to save his men, and it is the absolute turning point of their entire relationship.
It changes everything, because up until this moment, Brigand just saw her as Cantrell 2.0. He assumed she was selfish, manipulative, and dangerous.
Right. And now he's confronted with this act of profound selfless heroism. He has to reconcile his prejudice with the reality of what he just witnessed. It creates this huge crack in his worldview.
But that reconciliation, it isn't immediate, is it? It's slow and painful. Fire is recovering, and there's this incredible scene where she's wandering the stables at night. She has insomnia, these trauma nightmares about her dad, and she overhears Brigand talking to his mother, Rowan.
This is such a painful yet really illuminating scene. Brigand has no idea Fire is there, hiding in her horse's stall. He's just venting to his mom. He confesses that he doubts the monarchy's right to even rule anymore, but he's bound by his duty.
Yeah.
And then he talks about Fire.
And he says something awful.
He does. He says explicitly, "I'll snap her neck if she tries to manipulate the king."
Oof, I'll snap her neck. And this is the guy running the entire army. That is terrifying.
It's absolutely terrifying. But then in the very next breath, Brigand sees Fire's horse, Small, in its stall. He still doesn't know Fire is right in the straw. And he sees the horse, and his whole demeanor changes. He speaks to it gently, he pets it, and he says, "Your owner is not your fault."
That is the aha moment. That's the whole thing right there.
It humanizes him completely. It shows Fire, and it shows us that he isn't a cruel man. He hates the threat he thinks she represents, but he is fundamentally kind to innocent creatures. He has a moral code.
It just creates this incredible tension. She is rightly terrified of him, but she also sees this moment of grace and respects that he's nice to her horse. It's so complex.
I think it's even more complex. Shortly after this, King Nash, remember the drunk brother, he corners Fire in a hallway. He's drunk, he's aggressive, and he tries to assault her.
And Fire just shuts that down immediately.
She uses her mind. She doesn't hurt him, but she seizes control and commands him. Apologize, and he just drops to his knees, babbling an apology.
But then, of course, Brigand shows up. He walks in and sees her standing over his kneeling, crying brother. And he jumps to the absolute worst possible conclusion.
He thinks she's doing exactly what her father used to do. He thinks she's using her mind control to enslave the king. He slams her against the wall. He thinks his worst fears are coming true. Cancerel is back.
And this is where Fire finally fights back. But not with her mind control. She realizes something important. Brigand's mind is shielded. He's got this mental fortress she can't get into.
So she uses words, just like Lek, but for defense, not attack.
Exactly. And she hits him right where it hurts. She compares him to his own abusive father, Nax. She calls him the monster for his cruelty. She looks him in the eye and says, "You're the monster, not I."
And that has to shake him.
It does. Because Brigand's entire identity is built on not being his father, on not being the weak, cruel men who came before. It stops him cold.
So despite this hallway brawl, despite the death threats, Brigand makes a command decision. He asks Fire to come with him to King City. They've captured a spy, and they need her to get into his mind and identify him.
And she agrees, which is huge. She's leaving her home. She's defying Archer, who's predictably furious about this. And she is riding out with the very man who threatened to snap her neck. She's choosing to engage.
She is. And the dynamic on the road is fascinating. She's riding with the first branch of the army. That's 5,000 soldiers.
And we learned something really interesting about the Delian army here. There are women. A lot of them. The text says about 2,500 women are in the ranks.
Which is great. It paints a picture of a society that is surprisingly egalitarian in some ways, even while being completely broken in others.
It normalizes her presence just a little bit, but she's still, a monster. The soldiers stare at her. Some are openly hostile.
Which leads to the incident with the fiddle incident.
This is the moment, I think, that really solidifies the shift between Fire and Brigand. Fire brings her fiddle, which was a gift from her father, Cancerel. It's a complicated, precious object to her.
And one of Brigand's own men, in a fit of rage, grabs it from her and just smashes it to pieces, stomps on it, screaming obscenities at her.
It's just an act of pure, hateful vandalism. And Fire is devastated. But she's watching Brigand. She sees the fury in his eyes. He is about to beat this guy to a pulp.
But Fire intervenes, telepathically. She reaches out and begs him, "Don't hit him, please."
And he listens. He stops himself. He listens to her. He has the man gagged and removed from his sight. But he doesn't brutalize him. And then we get what the text refers to as the three kindnesses.
Let's list them, because this is what finally wins Fire over.
Okay, number one. He protects the soldier from his own rage at her request. It shows he respects her moral compass, even when he's angry.
Number two, he immediately posts guards to ensure Small, her horse, is safe. He anticipates that people might try to hurt her by targeting her horse. It's thoughtful.
And number three, he gives her a handkerchief to wipe her tears.
A stolen handkerchief.
A stolen handkerchief, yes. He just snatches it from another guard. But it's the gesture. It's a gesture of simple human comfort.
It's so subtle. He doesn't give a big speech about how he was wrong about her. He just hands her a square of cloth. But for Fire, who is so used to men either wanting to possess her or kill her, this is, well, it's respect.
It's a partnership forming. He is finally treating her as a valuable asset and a person, not just as a monster or a weapon.
So they continue the march, and life in the army is actually kind of interesting for Fire. She even gets a new fiddle.
She does. A huge, bear-like scout just lends her his own cheap fiddle. And she climbs up on a rock in the middle of the camp and plays for everyone.
It's a public declaration. It says, "I am here. I am not ashamed. I will not hide." It's an act of incredible resilience.
I just love that image. This girl with flame-colored hair on a rock, her music echoing over a camp of 5,000 soldiers. It's so defiant.
But the real bonding between her and Brigand happens at night. As it turns out, they are both insomniacs.
The shared insomnia club.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fire can't sleep because of her nightmares about Cantrell, and Brigand can't sleep because of the immense weight of command in the coming war, so they start meeting among the rocks at the edge of camp, just looking at the stars.
So they talk. They actually have conversations.
And they bond over their fathers. Brigand reveals something Fire never knew. He knew her mother, Jessa.
Oh, really?
Jessa worked in the royal nursery when he was a boy, and apparently Brigand was a wicked boy who was always setting traps for his brother Nash. And Jessa was the only one who could handle him, the only one who wasn't afraid of his tantrums.
That is actually really adorable.
It connects them, it weaves their family histories together in a way they never expected, and the analysis here is pretty clear. They are two sides of the same coin. They are both the children of monsters, the cruel Cantrell, and the erratic, abusive King Nax. And they are both trying desperately to clean up the mess their fathers left behind.
They are the cleanup crew for the previous generation's destructive party.
That's it exactly. And on the road, Brigand admits something crucial to her. He tells her that the reason he's kind to her now is because he trusts her.
Which has to floor her. I mean, why trust me? She's the monster. That's the label she's lived with her whole life.
And he doesn't give a simple answer, but the implication is all there. He has seen her choices. He saw her sacrifice herself to save his army from the raptors. He saw her spare the king in the hallway when she could have broken him. He saw her show mercy to the soldier who smashed her fiddle. He is judging her by her actions, not by her biology.
And Fire returns that trust. She starts worrying about him. She asks him to take a guard with him when he wanders at night. She's telling him, without saying it, your life matters to me now.
It's mutual protection. They have fully transitioned from enemies to allies.
So, as they get closer and closer to King City, the landscape itself begins to change. We've been in these gray, rocky, harsh mountains this whole time, but suddenly, green.
The dells finally live up to their name. The rock gives way to these rolling green hills, moss, grass that's described as looking like brilliant hair, and Fire has never seen so much green in her life. It's a total sensory overload for her.
But then they arrive. King City.
Which is described as just this place of overwhelming color. Red, purple, orange wooden houses hanging precariously over the waterfalls of the Winged River.
So Fire, who has spent her entire life hiding in the drab gray north, is now walking into a kaleidoscope.
But it's not just the colors. King City is the seat of all politics. It's the place her father, Cantrell, ruined. It's the place where her mother died.
She is literally stepping into the belly of the beast.
And this is really the provocative thought we need to leave you, the listener, with. Fire has spent her entire life hiding her nature, resisting her power to avoid becoming her father, but now she is entering a royal court filled with spies, enemies, political rivals, and a king who is already half-drugged by her very presence.
The pressure on her to use her power is going to be immense.
Off the charts. Everyone, Queen Rowan, King Nash, all the military advisors, they're all going to want her to use her monster abilities to help them win this war. They want her to read minds, to control enemy generals, to become the weapon she never wanted to be.
So the question is, in a world where beauty is a weapon that drugs men's minds, can Fire truly ever be trusted by those around her? Or, maybe more importantly, will the very power she has to use to save the kingdom inevitably turn her into the monster she fears becoming?
It's the classic hero's dilemma, isn't it? To defeat the monster, do you have to become one yourself? Can you wield the master's tools without eventually tearing down the house?
Man, that is a lot to think about. We have gone from sunset orange horses to deep moral philosophy in the space of one deep dive.
That's the power of good fantasy, though. It uses dragons and magical raptors to ask the really hard questions about what it means to be human.
And we didn't even get to the part about the giant monster fish in the lake.
The monster fish, I think, we'll have to wait for another time.
Deal. This has been a deep dive into Fire by Kristin Cashore. Thanks for unpacking this beautiful and, frankly, terrifying world of us.
Always a pleasure. Watch out for those orange horses.
See you next time.